Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the RathCo TikTok page. Unless you're watching this as a recap. If you're watching it as a recap, then welcome to the RathCo gaming channel. Okay, so the next thing you're going to hear is me narrating Chapter 2 of my book, New Lease on Life. I really hope that you all enjoy it. I worked very hard on it, and I had to pre-record the audio rather than just recite it to you for various reasons. One being that I have a very shitty memory. So, when the webcam feed goes off, you will hear the audio. As I said, I hope that you all enjoy. Here is Chapter 2 of New Lease on Life. RathCo University Library, bookcase number 1, shelf number 1, tome number 1, Life Lessons, fiction. New Lease on Life, Chapter 2, Craig Takes Control. Once Craig made it back to his makeshift home with a woman over his shoulder, he knew that he would have to expand his living space, but that would have to wait. He gently laid the woman down inside of his little shack under the bridge. Then he covered her up with whatever newspaper he could find, as well as a small cloth blanket he coveted from his childhood. Once he was sufficiently covered up, and he knew she would be safe, he headed out of the shack and shut the makeshift door as he laid down next to it, using his body to block it as he fell asleep. 7 hours later, 9 a.m. Craig felt the door to his shack begin to push against his back. He slowly began to wake up as the woman started yelling at Craig to please let her out. Craig quickly stood up as he nearly smacked his head against the top of the bridge. He unlocked the makeshift door and the woman slowly crawled out. "Hey, mister. Thanks. I really appreciate the help. That asshole would have raped and killed me. He's a real scumbag, but most of the time he's harmless. By the way, my name's Monica. And you are?" Monica said quietly. Craig looked up at her. I'm Craig Morrison. In case you can't already tell, I've been suffering from drug addiction out here. But you see, the other evening something happened, and it's made me think a bit differently, which is probably why I saved you last night, you know? Craig replied as Monica stared at him, listening intently. "You know, if you're not too attached to this place, I've got a much better place. It's isolated up in the woods where there used to be an old logging town. It's an old train car. I fixed it up pretty damn good, too. Even got solar power. Built a small solar paddle battery charger, and I run a few lamps, a small TV set with a VCR, and a microwave oven. Full charge only lasts about 4 hours, though. Even less if you're running too much. It also has a door with 2 giant padlocks securing it. Although I've been there for about a year and a half, and I've never seen anyone else pack up there. So if you want to pack up and go there with me, just say the word," Monica suggested as Craig looked at her with a look of interest as he listened. After chatting for a few more minutes, Craig packed up his gear into his old torn backpack, held together by duct tape and safety pins. Then he stepped out of his shack, and the pair began hiking down the road until they reached a dead-end street. Monica directed Craig to follow her as they walked around the dead-end sign and into the forest beyond it. "I don't go into the city and on the streets very often, because it's about a half-hour hike from the dead-end street to my train car house," Monica said as she and Craig continued hiking through heavy brush and thick foliage. After they had been hiking for almost 30 minutes, Monica stopped dead in front of Craig. Craig quickly looked up to see why she had stopped, and he spotted her home, the bright red train car. Monica and Craig walked up to the door, and Monica pulled a keyring out of her back pocket and unlocked and removed the 2 padlocks that secured the large sliding door. However, instead of sliding it open, she simply opened a smaller sliding door in the lower center of the sliding door itself. She motioned for Craig to come inside. As he stepped into the doorway, he glanced up to see a medium-sized solar panel atop the roof with a large black cable leading in through a hole in the side of the train car. It was sealed with insulation around the wire as to keep moisture and rainwater out, not to mention snow during the colder months. Craig shut the door behind them, and Monica flipped on a small lamp on a nightstand table beside a small love-seat couch. The pair collapsed onto the couch, exhausted from the hiking. "Hey, Craig, you hungry? I think I got a few cans of chicken noodle soup. I can heat some up on my hot plate over on the table," Monica suggested as she stood back up and began cooking them dinner. Craig was not about to object, as he was starving and still trying to figure out what the hell was going on with him lately, trying to determine why he was not afraid of that gunman, or why he was still not in withdrawal. However, he had been beginning to feel a little under the weather, but that simply Could that simply be from the long hike, right? He thought to himself as he watched Monica make them soup. She looked over at Craig with a smile. You know, I don't have a shower set up of any kind, but I do have an old hot tub I can fill with water. It won't be hot water, but we could at least wash up then. I mean, we don't have to wash up at the same time if you're not attracted to me or if women are not what you're after, Craig. Monica said with a suggestive grin. It had been literally years since anyone had attempted to become intimate with Craig. He's bisexual, however, but Monica did not know that. The thoughts raced through Craig's mind, trying to come up with an answer, but suddenly he blurted out, No, you're beautiful. It's just that it's... Craig's words were cut short by Monica's finger against his lips. Shh, it's okay, Craig. Whatever it is, I will understand. Tell me what's wrong. If you don't want to have sex with me, I understand, cutie, but no matter what the issue is, maybe you think you're too small or too large, or maybe it's something else. How about this? I will get undressed and into my bikini while you toss on some boxes. There are some men's boxes in an old suitcase under the train car in a little storage compartment from way back when my asshole husband was still alive. Needless to say, Craig got into the boxers and ended up making love to Monica that afternoon in the old hot tub full of lukewarm water. Craig felt as though he was making a mistake, however, because he did not want to fall in love with this woman. For starters, she had to be at least 10 years younger than him. Not to mention, if she ever got pregnant, they were homeless. How would they care for a child? Craig, honey, you better get in here and see what they're saying on the news, Monica shouted from inside the train car. Craig began to stir as he woke up. He had been napping in a small fold-up lounge chair just outside the door of their train car home. But before he could reach to open the door, Monica had already slid it open and grabbed Craig's wrist, yanking him inside and over to the tiny 10-inch portable television. They both sat down to listen. Good afternoon, folks. Unfortunately, we have some very disturbing news. The value of the U.S. dollar seems to be collapsing. The country can no longer sustain a stable economy due to severe debt and resource problems caused by drug-motivated crimes throughout the country. There are reports of widespread looting and violent crimes being reported from every major population center. The sound of the television suddenly faded as everything in Craig's field of vision began to go black and white. Craig, now do you see your purpose? You have changed. Instead of seeking your next fix, you chose to save Monica's life. However, what you did not know, was the man whom almost shot her was directly involved in the collapse of your society, as you call it. Now you cannot turn back time, of course, but this is what we meant when we told you that your actions may affect more than just you, Craig. This country will fall into a deep economic and social depression in which humankind in this country will literally be driven mad. We have seen it. All I can tell you now is that we are a large race not from this planet or even this universe. We have witnessed the events leading up to your extinction, which will occur at exactly 5:57 p.m. on the date of June 30th, 2030. Today is currently June 30th, 2024, which means that you have exactly 6 years to save this country through your own actions. I will help you as much as I can along the way, but really, when all is said and done, it will fall on your actions to change society, to change mankind, to change yourself. Suddenly, the instant the woman ended her speech to Craig, he heard a snap, and everything became full color again, and time seemed to resume itself. Monica must not have been aware of anything of what just occurred, as she remained just as she had been, staring into the tiny TV screen. Craig sighed, wondering how in the world he was supposed to fix this collapse of mankind, of society, of whatever the fuck that woman meant. So his biggest question that Craig continued to ask himself was, what do I do now? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed Chapter 2 of New Lease on Life. I left it on quite the cliffhanger, so you're going to have to stick around and wait for Chapter 3. And now, back to Rob in the RathCo headquarters. Thanks for listening. Alright, folks, well, I hope that you enjoyed that coverage of my narration of Chapter 2 of New Lease on Life. I'm sorry that it couldn't be longer, but I'm doing things chapter by chapter, as I said. So, the next chapter is obviously going to be Craig and Monica trying to figure out what their next move is, and will society collapse or not? Who the hell knows, but I guess you'll find out when I live stream the third chapter. As always, thank you all so very much for listening and for watching. I consider each and every one of you a member of the RathCo family of gamers and friends. Please be sure to follow us here on TikTok, and also please be sure to like and subscribe, turning on all notifications for both of our YouTube channels, RathCo Gaming and RathCo Outdoors. There will be a lot more content soon to come. Again, thank you. Without you, RathCo would be nothing, and I consider each and every one of you a member of the RathCo family of gamers and friends, and you all have my love and respect. And until next time, thanks for listening. Later.